Good after. Well, is it good morning or good
It
afternoon?
is it is still good morning here. It's 11:12 in the morning here in Los Angeles. Where are you? About 9 p.m. where you are? 9:15?
Uh, yes, just after 9. Yes, you are well versed, seeing as you've spent enough time here to be able to say that.
Well, I've also spent enough time on interviews previous to yours where I've gotten a good sense of what time they're at. So I hate to say cheated a little bit on that source of knowledge,
I do.
but
I do.
what city are you what city are you
I'm in
calling
Cape
from?
Town.
In Cape Town. Great.
And how are you,
Lovely.
sir?
Doing okay, trying to stay sane like everyone else, and happy to talk music on a day
Yeah.
here where it seems like everybody wants to talk about other things.
Yes, there is that little thing that's happening in
That
the
little
background.
thing, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We might even say we need some harmony in our lives. Yeah,
Imagine. And guess
imagine
what?
that.
The
Yeah.
20th of November, all will be revealed, and the
All will
world
be
will be a
revealed.
better place for it. So thank you for that.
Exactly. Oh, well, I feel so very lucky to be in a job where you get to see the world through a lens that brings people together. That you can put all that aside for the moment, and
Yeah.
there's always time for activism, and there's time for raising your voice in ways that go beyond just neutral. But at the same time, there's oftentimes a need for the thing that music can give us, that art can give us, which is the light on our similarities at a time when everything feels like we just couldn't be more different right now.
This is nothing new for you, though.
No, it's not. It's not. And it's something I've appreciated about my job from day one, and right now especially.
Especially that, because, as I said, this is it's not that you're stepping up to the plate because of anything, pandemic or otherwise. You've always been very vocal and I think been very real, which I think has been one of the many attributes that people love about you, besides the extraordinary music that you make. So,
Thank you.
thank you for that.
I feel like it's important to to show all the colors of your rainbow. I feel like in music it's very easy to sit behind uh, just the projected brand that is just is the loudest, because you're always finding yourself staring people down on an album cover or on a billboard, or you get
Yeah.
3 minutes on a talk show to sing your most serious song, or whatever it is that you're projecting. And and I think that ultimately you learn not to take an audience for granted, and to understand that there's a way for us to have conversations with each other that go beyond the musical. And it doesn't mean we always have to disagree, and as long agree, and as long as there's respectful discourse about all kinds of things. And I'm not even talking political. To be able to dive into things like philanthropy with my fans, to be able to pull them into causes that allow me to give back on a greater scale.
Mm.
That's been amazing to see, that my fan base around the world has been in it for so much more than just entertainment, that they really want to dive deep on how to do good and give back, which matters so much to me.
Which is what you've always done. But today is about you. Today is about harmony.
Well, I'm
And
very fortunate to have an album
congratulations.
coming out. Thank you very much. Thanks.
And it is a beautiful body of work. I've spent
Thank
the
you.
better part of the last few days just trawling through it all. And
Thank you.
I've made copious notes, which, yeah, I mean, many of the songs that you covered have touched me in very original ways. In your interpretations of so many of them, um, is extraordinary. I mean, the
Thank
one
you.
that really, really jumps out for me is Angels,
Mm.
because I think and I think it must have been hell for you to try and put this compilation together, because there are just so many songs. But
Yeah,
I didn't think it was possible to take a track like Angels and make it better than the original, because Robbie Williams did an extraordinary job,
you did.
and you can't take that
Absolutely.
away. Yet the strings and the arrangement, respectful, yet you just somehow managed to take it to a very different level.
Thank you very
And
much.
I think the question is really about interpreting versus staying true to the original.
Yeah.
And that is true of this album in particular, where, where do you stand? You have a track that is already complete.
Right.
How do you
It's, yeah.
interpret?
Well, firstly, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it. And, it's always, I think, the daunting task for a vocalist, if you're going to put on the interpretation hat and take off the writer's hat. In some ways, writing is easier because there's no precedence. You're someone might like the song or hate the song, but there's at least not going to be the fear that you're not doing your own song justice. And so with classic songs, and Angel is a perfect example of just a modern classic, it was amazing for me, firstly, to feel what you said, which is this kind of unexpected new relevance to some of these lyrics that took it for me beyond the idea of, this is a beautiful song with a great message and it means a lot to me and it means a lot to other people, full stop, to all of a sudden having, as so many timeless songs do, really a finger on the pulse of what everybody's trying to find in their own meaning of what they love in their lives and their own faith and their own paths. And so a song like Angels was recorded after lockdown, and I always knew it was a great song. I've always been just a huge Robbie fan and loved the song growing up. And it felt especially powerful to sing right now. And, I always want to honor the original. That's the first goal. Number one is that you're singing a song because you love the song, because you feel like, the honoring is that whoever first recorded it or wrote something that's timeless, that should be continued to be interpreted and passed on. That's the beauty of standards of any song that lives with us forever. And one of the best ways to honor it is to try and make it your own a bit, and to add things to it that make it your own, and to try and not beat it, just take it to a place that's unique from the original. So I love that song. I love Robbie. He's such a wonderful guy, and I'm so happy that he liked the version that I did, and I appreciate it.
Let's talk about the two new original songs.
Sure.
I love the video. I just thought it kind of just captured the intensity, and I think the ambition, or I got a sense that you were really trying to, certainly your face is the intention and the passion in which you sing it, and the fact that you harmonize so incredibly well. I didn't realize you had that skill where you could do all of those things.
Well, that song came about. Thank you. I mean, that song came about, oftentimes before COVID, I was writing by, playing at my piano or singing into my iPhone. And then I would get together with a producer and we would make noise together in the same room and figure out how to hash out some of the things. I'd come up with a beat with my mouth or something I thought I wanted to hear. But I wasn't super tech savvy in the way that I wrote. It was pen and paper and it was a piano. And so with this, everything with the lockdown, I've had to be much more self-sufficient as far as if I hear it in my head, I have to try and find a way to do that. So I got to know, GarageBand. I'm sitting in the corner of my bedroom. Now this is the wall from that video.
My world. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is the microphone I sang your face into, it was all very homespun. And for somebody who from the age of 17 was used to, going into a room of 60 musicians.
17.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, being so spoiled by these extraordinary environments where you've got the finest U47 microphone and you've got a symphony there. And, all of a sudden you're coming up with string chords by yourself, but you're harmonizing with yourself. So some magic comes from that. It happened very quickly, and a lot of that we kept. A wonderful producer named Tommy Prophet really took it to the next level with his programming and his production. But we didn't use I don't think any live. Everything on that track was done very quickly and from just our own whatever we had available to use, and we kept it that way.
Which is extraordinary, as you say, because you've come from that from that age of 17 to where you are now with all of the luxury, and then all of a sudden none of it, And
Yeah.
clearly the raw talent kicked in because it was always there, but it kind of had to work a little harder in a different way to realize what harmony is.
I think, like a lot of us, the comfortable norms that we're used to have gone away, and there's a lot of growth that can come from that in any
Mm,
profession that we're in the adapting, you know.
mm,
And so for me, the growing pain and the learning curve that I've had to have right now is that I don't have the luxury of being able to fly somewhere where there's a studio I
mm,
love or work with somebody even in the same room.
mm,
And so, you know, I think that that can be very healthy. That can be very good to say, okay, Josh, if you want to make it, you have to make it by yourself.
mm,
Um, these songs were written with that mentality, also written with the idea that they may never see the light of day. I knew that this was going to be a classics album, and I was writing for my own head. I was writing just to try and put to music some semblance of hope that I had for myself and for the world. And a lot of times I've got a million things in my garage band that I don't know if they'll ever see the light of day. They just feel good to get out. You have to, if you're right, you know, you have to just get it out. And to everybody's credit in my team, they said that these songs had relevance to me. They had relevance to what was going on. And that even though this was an album of cover songs, that they deserved to be part of this project and to embrace the 180 that we've all had to embrace right now.
but the original intention with this album, based on what the outcome has, well, what the outcome is, was very different because you started this album in a very different space. You ended it
Yes.
in a completely different space, and yet
Yeah.
somehow, like the two originals, they found this homogenous kind of connect where they are now one thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's literally two polar opposites that somehow found a common divide. Or
Yes.
how do you, you know, when you look at it, you go, my word, the intention was that, the result was that.
Mm.
Um, and the tension in between is where the magic clearly happened.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think that the incredible thing that happens when you're going through an album process and finding momentum, in this case, then losing momentum and then having to find it again, uh, you know, your thought process is really kind of, you're not thinking as far down the line. You're thinking about each song, each vocal performance, each arrangement, making them the best, most heartfelt that you possibly can. And then once you feel like you've done that, well, okay, now what's a next thing we can do? And then the amazing thing that happens when you're putting the puzzle pieces together and you're looking at the body of work all of a sudden from, you know, from the 30,000-foot view of everything that you've put together, is that's the intangible thing about making art, making music, that is just still sorcery to me, is that when you put everything together, you do realize that there was a common thread you didn't realize was happening as you were choosing each story, whether it's a love song or a song of hope or a sad song, a breakup song, whatever it is. That when you put them all together, there's this thread of the human condition, especially when there's things going on all around us, that that starts to develop right under your nose, that you didn't really you weren't fully conscious was developing. So songs that leapt to the top of where we felt we were at, songs like Impossible Dream and Both Sides Now with Sarah Bareilles, we felt needed to be
Love that
now.
track. Love that.
Um, Thank you. I do. I love that song so much, and you know, so as we were listening to the mastering and the mixing of it back to back,
Mm,
uh, all of a sudden, all of those little isolated incidents of making each song its own perfect as we could gem, all
mm,
of a sudden you're seeing a continuity that you didn't know would be there,
mm.
and that's an amazing thing. That happens with a lot of albums, original songs, covers, and that's, I imagine, for a director it's the same as, you know, shooting every day and having hours and hours and hours of film, and as you start to edit and cut it down, there are things probably in the editing process and the directing process that are a lot of happy accidents that start to develop, and things you didn't know were going to start to shine, and that's always unexpected and a lot of fun.
Which I think is interesting because albums like these, and there are many of them in the world, they often, I think, they suffer from being construed as contrived. There
Hmm.
is absolutely nothing, track by track, that could be accused of being that because of the intention in every single one.
Thank you. I think, a lot of people ask about the choosing of the songs, and I love being proven wrong, when choosing a song too. Sometimes there will be something that's on paper that I really,
Mm.
is a pet project, something I've really wanted to sing for a long time, and it just doesn't hit the nerve. It doesn't do the thing. It's an ego play, or it's a thing that you want to, test your voice out on or something. And I've tried to be really in tune with the how and the why, especially the why, when choosing a song that's a classic song. I think to that point, there is sometimes a stigma when you've got a more traditional voice, when you choose a lot of songs that have been done a long time, of that, oh, well, that wasn't hard, or there wasn't a lot of thought put into that. And there is no greater maze than the maze I put myself through in my head before tackling a classic song, of why we should do it, how we're going to do it, and putting your whole being into it. And so I owe it to these songwriters. I owe it to the songs, and to all the song interpreters and vocalists before me and ahead of me. I know we all feel the same responsibility when choosing those songs. And so thank you for appreciating that intent, because it's there for all of us.
And I think that shows. And I think that what's lovely about it is that you've got classic tracks, Joni Mitchell, you've got Robbie in there, like we said, Kenny Loggins is in there, and yet your new music seamlessly kind of weaves into that. And when you look back as a collection of songs, I think, I think pandemic aside and everything else that we've all been through, I think emotionally this album probably, you've done 9 studio albums.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one has to kind of, for a bunch of reasons, kind of be right up there.
It is. When we chose the word harmony, it's always hard to choose a title for an album. You just don't want to be trite. You don't want to just, and, but to me, the effort, the sheer willpower to create, to connect with this album, nothing about this process was easy. It was the hardest process for any of us that we've ever had in 9 albums to decide and curate, to gather musicians from all over the world safely, social distanced, in order to make the beautiful, sounds that they made, and to make themselves available to us. And to find these meanings that we knew were there, and meaning that we didn't know was there previously in these classic songs. My favorite thing about great work is the discovery of new things you didn't know, you thought you knew but didn't really know. When I did Broadway, my favorite thing about doing that show, and why I really loved that score, is because
very late in your career, just saying.
Late in my career, because again, it meant so much to me. I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do a show that I knew was challenging, both to myself and to Broadway. But 110 shows in, I was finding new meaning in some of the lyrics. I was finding a new thread in a oboe line, or a passage where I would listen to a line of another actor singing, and I go, oh, I never caught that, or it means something different to me today than it did 2 weeks ago. And I think that's a wonderful thing about these songs that live on and on, is that they continue to shapeshift in our lives, and the way that they're soundtracks to our lives. And as vocalists, as there will be plenty of singers that sing these songs after me, that's our great joy, and our responsibility is to find and be pleasantly surprised by all those things.
You look after a lot of people. You've been incredibly invested in your audience and the people who have paid attention, certainly during the course of 2020, but I think throughout your career. And I always wonder, who's looking after Josh?
Well, wow, this is going to be therapy now. Ooh, promise myself I wouldn't cry. I think that I can sit here and say that I'm on my 9th album and relatively healthy internally, because I have such an incredible support system. I have been so lucky, because it is lonely when you're a solo artist. You take the brunt of the joy of success, and also the pain of criticism. And so, and when you're known as a singer, that you don't get the the fallback of, you know, a top 40 beat and a bunch of backup dancers and pyrotechnics. You have to, people are coming for your soul. They're coming for your, you know, you at your most vulnerable. There isn't
Mm.
anything to hide behind. And so you add that to the fact that it's just you know, as in the spotlight at least.
Mhm.
And it can be very isolating, and it can feel like you have to really be resilient, get a thick skin very young, and try to deal with a lot of these things very young, which I tried to do. But that being said, I have the most extraordinary team of collaborators and family and friends and people who have been a sounding board for me, and they take care of me every step of the way, because I am also very close to it. And so for all of us that are artists, we say we have a thick skin, but we also live inside of ourselves. And when your instrument is literally inside you,
Mm.
there's all kinds of ways to overthink and get stressed and wonder about where it is you're supposed to go and what's going on. And so to have great, loving voices of reason around me is really one of the sole reasons why I'm able to sit here and be sound of mind and voice. So I'm very lucky.
Mm. And you do that. I think you've always been very clear in the fact that you are open to talk about pretty much anything. You're an open book, but yet, you know, I think it's not an easy job that you've got, because besides pitching up and presenting yourself on stage, you have to deliver on a promise. And harmony is a wonderful way of, I think, being cathartic for you, but also being a wonderful gift to the audience that have stood by you. And I think the music always does wonderful things to us and to you. Um,
Thank you.
it's a wonderful place to be in.
Thank you. Well, nothing takes care of me more than the ability to share what this music means to me and to the fans. To you know, it's an echo in the wind. If you don't have an audience to say these things you're feeling, these things you want to express are things I'm feeling too.
Mm.
And so, you know, as isolating as the recording process and writing process can feel, it all comes together. The saving grace, the thing that makes you feel okay about yourself and the world, is when you have people around the world to say, I get it. Yeah, I feel
Mm.
that. What you felt when you sang that, I'm feeling that when I listen to it.
Mm.
Especially if it's a song that is, you know, tapping into kind of more vulnerable things and things that I may not have been as brave to speak about as I am to sing about. Uh, those moments where you get a letter or you get a handshake at a meet and greet, or somebody comes up to you in private and says, you know, this song or this message, I've been there. This got me through a hard time, or this helped me celebrate a great time.
Mm.
That's when the loneliness dissipates. That's when you realize that you actually have this extraordinary, sometimes unseen family tree of people who get it. They get you. And I know I speak for every entertainer and artist out there that takes care of us more than anything.
Mm. We don't have time to talk about Shah songs, which I would have loved to have chatted about, but I think we are pretty much out of time. And
Well,
I just want to thank you so much, and just know that the people down south are looking forward to happier times, and
yes, same.
very much welcome harmony, which I think you're about to bring.
Thank
So
you.
we wish
I
you well.
Thank you. I so appreciate such a lovely conversation. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the thoughtful questions. And South Africa is one of those places where that connectivity has been strong for me since album one. And every time I go there, I get a recharge for my soul of what that connection means, and what my music has meant to my friends and fans in South Africa has meant so much to me. So thanks to everyone who's allowed that to happen, and can't wait to celebrate and have a drink and go see everybody in person again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, we hope that soon you are the nucleic tablet. So we look forward to that return. But in the
Thank you so
meantime,
much.
stay safe, be kind
Yes,
to yourself, and
you as
thank
well.
you for the extraordinary music.
Okay. Thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.